was a bit more wheel spin. The new Hyundai Sonata is a very cool car, but in some ways, or in a lot of ways actually, it's about 10 years too late. Sedans are becoming less and less popular over the years, with more people going to SUVs and dual cab utes. But I still think this has a lot of appeal. Hyundai has applied its latest styling theme for the new model, so it's much more horizontal, cleaner lines, and flowing lines too, like all of the lines that you'll see pretty much flow through. So you've got the bonnet line all the way through, and it comes all the way around to the C-pillar here. And even from this N Line badge, you've got two crease lines that come all the way along and feed right through to the tail light. I think the rear end is nicely finished off. It's got this black spoiler on the top with Sonic the Hedgehog style fins on the top there, and then a full width trim piece that connects it all together. Quad outlet exhaust at the bottom, which might be a little bit deceiving depending on how you perceive this model or whereabouts you place this model in the hierarchy, but it still looks good. No matter what, I think it looks really good. I saw quite a few comments come up on the initial 0 to 100 video we did of this from the launch event, saying that it needs a limited slip differential. I do agree that it could do with a limited slip differential to help direct some of that power, but as you'll see, we'll go for a drive in a minute on a pretty demanding road. It doesn't really need one. I don't think it would make a huge difference, but also it's what this vehicle is all about. It's not an N model, it's just an N line. So it's just a sporty version of an existing nameplate. In this case, the Sonata is not available in any other trim level except the N line. But yeah, those quad outlet exhausts at the back probably suggest that it is a performance model or a full N model. Whereas, yeah, you've got to keep coming back to this is just an N line, so you can't expect absolutely hardcore performance from it. It still goes really good though, 2.5 litre turbo petrol, 4-cylinder engine. Although this engine has been around for a little bit overseas, it's still quite new in Australia. It is a Smart Stream unit, which is basically Hyundai's latest engine technology philosophy, if you like. So it's got all the latest technology to help reduce emissions or minimize emissions, as well as maximize power and performance. 213 kilowatts makes it more powerful than the i30N and the Elantra N, or i30 Sedan N in Australia. So it's actually more powerful, but it is a bigger vehicle and it's heavier. In saying that, it's not actually that heavy. It's 1,675 kilograms, which is not too bad for a big sedan. Even so, it's not about absolute power. It's more of a big cruising sedan, like a traditional sedan that Australians used to like, but just with, you know, sporty garnishes and things, sports suspension, sporty tyres. These tyres are actually really good. They're wide, they're 245. They provide heaps of grip. And as you'll see when we go for a drive in a minute, I don't think grip is that much of an issue. I think there's a bit of wheel slip and wheel spin and tugging at the wheel if you've got the stability control turned off. But it's at a playful level. It's not like ridiculous smoking the tyres away and wasting all that power. It actually puts down the power really well, but it's still very playful. My only minor issue with this engine is it doesn't sound very good. It's pretty sort of bland and just has a 4-cylinder sound. On the spot, it sounds pretty normal. It kind of... I think the Tucson N Line would probably sound pretty similar. But you do have a active sound design system in here, so basically fake sounds. If you really want to have more of an enhanced mood, you can kind of hear it at idle, but you hear it more as you're driving along with speed and a bit of load on the engine. But yeah, I think if they had a proper sports exhaust system as suggestive of those quad outlet pipes, I think it could sound really good. It's a deep sound because it's a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder, which is pretty big capacity for a 4-cylinder. This interior is really nice. I love these sports seats in the front, N Line, big bolsters on the sides, perforated as well, so you've got heating and cooling on both the passenger side and driver's side. And it's also very practical, so you've got plenty of storage there. I like that's rubber lined as well, same with the cup holders. They've got like a little rubber mat, even that little trough there is rubber lined. Nice big glove center console box there. And yeah, plenty of passenger space. My head's nowhere near the ceiling, and it feels like a sporty sedan. It doesn't feel too low. You can lower the seat down a reasonable amount, but it's not as low as I probably would prefer. But for the general buyer, I think it's a good mix. It's not too low and too hunkered down. You can still see out very, very easily. You've actually got a little window there in the corner of the A-pillar, so you can see past in between the mirror and the pillar. Forward visibility is definitely more than acceptable. Out the back, you've got reasonable visibility as well. With that sunroof open, you can really brighten up the cabin a bit. But that D or C pillar at the back there's a little window in between, which gives you some view of what's going on in the blind spot. It might not provide a totally open view, but at least if there's something there, you'll see it. So it's better than nothing. Being a one variant model line in Australia has its advantages because this comes with everything. So you've got a Bose sound system, the full touch screen, twin screens going all the way across the dash there, and lots of adjustability. You've got full connectivity, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and the wireless charging pad down there as well, and dual zone climate control. I like the steering wheel buttons, very simple. This is kind of Hyundai and Kia's philosophy there, where you've got cruise control and all your sort of adaptive drive modes on the left, and then on the right is your media. I think Kia is around the other way. But yeah, it's very logical, very easy to understand, and you can just jump straight to it without looking around. It's got paddle shifters behind there as well. Plenty of room. It makes you wonder, why did we stop buying sedans? If you've got a family with kids and things, I think SUVs can be more practical, because you can fit the pram and so on in the back. But if you don't have kids, or you've got older kids, a sedan is still very practical. Like, I've got heaps of room, lots of leg room. My knees are nowhere near the seat. My seat's probably a little bit forward compared with the average driver, but even if the seat was back a little bit, and even if I was a little bit taller, you'd still have a bit of a gap there. I don't have a problem at all with the amount of leg room back here. You've also got climate vents and twin USB-C ports down there. Mat pockets in the back, or whatever you call these things, and then cup holders with an armrest. More of that seat trim, perforated seat trim in the back, so it sort of grips you in a little bit. It would be nice if you had seat cooling. You do have seat heating in the back here, so it's just on the door. But yeah, in Australia it'd be nice to have cooled seats in the back. That would make it a bit more of a luxury sedan, I guess, having passengers in the back, being able to cool them down a bit. You do have a pop-up blind though, so that provides a bit of protection from the sun. And in the back you've got a automatic boot lid. I've never really understood electronic boot lids on sedans because the lid is actually so light in weight. You don't need to use a button to open it. But it goes quite deep, this boot. It's a pretty large boot, and you can actually pull down or drop down the rear seats using these little tabs. And you've got a space saver spare wheel under the floor here. You've actually got a fair bit of room. I don't know why they didn't just put a full-size spare there, because by the time you get past the lip of this little case for the jack and everything, you can actually fit a full-size spare in there. All right, let's go take it for a bit of a thrash. I will purposely put it into like a difficult situation, like tight corner, stability control off, and just nail the throttle just to see what happens, to show you what happens. And see how it handles. We already know the 0 to 100 performance. It did about 6.03 or 04 seconds. The previous model I have done 5.9, I think it was, on P-Drive channel. I think this would do the same thing. There's nothing majorly different about it that would cause a slower time. Might be a tiny bit heavier, but like with any 0 to 100 time, you could sit there all day and you'll get a different result pretty much every single time. So if you really tried, you could get that down into the 5s, no problem. Okay, I'm in the sport mode and I've got stability and traction control completely turned off. I've got the active sound design off as well, just so you can hear the natural sound of the engine. I'm not a huge fan of this steering wheel or column setup. The steering wheel itself is quite nice, 3-spoke, but it's kind of tilted forward at the top and it just feels like I'm grabbing it kind of like too high or something. I don't know, it's kind of weird the way the spokes here, they feel too high or something. I don't know what it is, but there's just something slightly awkward about it, for me anyway. You can adjust the steering wheel all over the place, so you've got plenty of adjustment there. If I lower it down a bit, it becomes a bit more vertical, but then it's too low, it's near my legs. So I just want it up a little bit, but then it's on a slight angle where the top of it's tilted a bit forward. But again, these seats are really nice. It feels like I'm hunkered down into the car, but not too much that it becomes a bit claustrophobic. You do have the manual mode, so you just hit one of the paddles and it will go into manual mode, but it will automatically go back into D if you do it that way. I can't figure out how to hold manual mode, like have a setting that it stays permanently in manual mode. It will automatically upshift if you don't. Which again is suggestive that this is not a full N model, it's just an N line model, so a sporty variant of an existing model line. Good response from low down. Actually screams a bit in the top end as well. So just then it upshifted by itself. I just missed the paddle. Yeah, I didn't change the gear then, but again, it's not a full hardcore performance model, it's just a sporty example. All right, we'll try and unstick these front wheels. Heaps of grip so far. It feels very well balanced. There's not heaps of communication through the steering, but you know, I wouldn't say that it's a bad thing. It's just, there are some sporty sedans that I've driven before that just feel a bit nicer through the steering specifically. Good ride comfort though. It's not bouncing me around at all, and that's one of the advantages of having a relatively long wheelbase compared with a little, you know, punchy and petite hot hatch. This has got a long wheelbase, so that it's less likely to bounce around. A little bit of wheel spin there, but not too bad. All right, second gear, full throttle. And upshifted into third by itself then, but it's spun the wheel a little bit on the inside, but not too much. I wouldn't say that's drastic. You might remember the BYD Dolphin that I drove down here with the stability and traction left on, and it still spun up more than that. That was a bit more wheel spin, but I think it adds to the excitement of driving the car. I don't think it's detracting performance. If it had a limited slip diff, you know, hook up even better, but then it might become a bit too focused and a bit too hard edged. The average punter is going to leave the traction and stability control on, obviously. I'm just turning it off just to show you that it doesn't really need a limited slip diff. There's a bit of wheel spin, but it's not crazy. I don't think it's excessive. And then when you're finished having some fun on a spirited road, this becomes a very nice cruiser. So I'm running along now at about 1500 RPM at 100 kilometers an hour. It's very quiet, especially with that active sound design turned off. And as I said, the ride comfort's good. It feels smooth, it feels relaxing. It performs pretty similar to a luxury sedan, except it's just got a, yeah, the suspension's a bit firmer than that, obviously, but it's still quite comfortable and relaxing. It's a pity that Australians don't buy large sedans anymore, because, yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. This is a great all-rounder package. It's pretty quick, handles really nicely, but it's still very comfortable, and it can go for a nice long cruise, even interstate cruise, with no problem at all. The fuel consumption is averaging, what do we got here? 11.8 just on the short trip that I've been doing. But if you include just highway driving, it's at 9.7, which is not too bad. I think you could get down to, you know, low 9s if you just drove it pretty normally, and then just went for a spirited drive every now and again. We'll have a full written review on this soon, and you can check out our initial 0 to 100 performance test video linked in the description and in this video. Thanks for watching.